Hello, my name is Kathy. Welcome. Today I'm going to be discussing the case of Maddie, and I'm going to be doing my hair and my makeup, and we're just gonna get right into it. Okay, so warning before we start. There is a child in this case. The child does die, and it's pretty violent and triggering. So if that's too much for you, then just skip to the last part of the video. So today we're talking about Maddie Clifton. She was born June 17th, 1990 in Florida. Florida represent. So since she's so young, I don't have like a lot of backstory on her, but what I can tell you is that she was kind of a tomboy, but also kind of a princess too. So she liked both things. She liked to play sports, and she was learning how to play the piano, and yeah, so she could do all the things. And she liked to play with the kids in the neighborhood. They lived in like a cul-de-sac, so all the neighbors knew each other. And this is in the 90s, so like going out and riding your bike around the neighborhood and playing with the neighborhood kids and stuff, that's pretty normal. You know, it gets dark outside, mom comes outside, kids, time to come in. And that's that. Like that's kind of how I grew up. A lot of the people that I know grew up that way. So nowadays things are a little bit different, but that's what Maddie was up to, you know, playing with her friends and very active and just like normal kid stuff, you know. On November 3rd, 1998, Maddie came home from school and probably got a snack or something. That's an assumption, but I feel like if I come home from school, I need a snack, you know. Anyway, she was learning how to play the piano, so she played piano. She practiced piano for like 20 minutes, maybe a half an hour, and then she wanted to go and play. So she asked her mom if she could go play. Mom said sure. And then her sister, Jessica, who is 11 years old, is also like out playing, riding bikes, you know, whatever. Geez, where does this thing go? Okay, there we go. So she goes out to play, and like I said, this is a cul-de-sac, so she can like see her house from where she's at. And so she's going to play with her friend Larry Grisham, and so they're going to play some golf, but not like really. I mean, they're like hitting balls, and yeah, so that's what they're doing. Like I said, close to home, like you could see them. You could see her house from where they're at. So they're playing, hitting balls, whatever. And at some point, she runs out of balls. So she goes home to get some more balls. Now we're around 6:20-ish, and it's time to come in, like it's time for dinner. It's starting to maybe get a little bit dark outside. It's Florida. It's not summer. I almost said it was summer. It's not. No, it's November. So yeah, it's probably getting dark right about now. So it's time to come in. Mom's like, girls, time to come in. And Jessica comes in, but no Maddie. Where the heck is Maddie? So mom's like, yo, where's your sister? And Jessica was like, oh, I didn't even see her out there playing. I didn't even know she was playing. So she was like, well, go get your sister. Come on in, it's getting later, let's go. Here's the palette I'm gonna be using today. Check it out. There she is. I've used this palette twice, but aside from that, this is new. I don't even know what I'm gonna do yet. So by 6:30, and so this is only 10 minutes, but by 6:30, Mama's getting upset. Sheila is Mama's name. She's upset. This little girl is 8 years old, so she's little, and she normally doesn't take time to come home. So Mama's like panicking, screaming her name. So she calls the cops. She's like not gonna waste any time. So she calls the police, and I mean, the police are on it. This is a little girl, so there's no like waiting time. I mean, they're immediately like looking for her, looking everywhere. So everyone in the neighborhood is searching for her. Her sister's riding her bike, like riding around calling her name and screaming her name. And so the whole community, this is like a cul-de-sac. I don't know exactly how big it is, but it's a tight community. Everyone's looking for her. I mean, her father, Steve, said it was like she just had vanished into thin air. They looked everywhere. It's dark now. They have flashlights. Like, they're looking everywhere. Among these people that are searching for her was a neighbor called Josh. He was 14 years old, and Maddie would actually play with him. I mean, she liked him. He was sporty. Like, he would play sports with her, I guess. So he was out there looking as well. And they just couldn't find her. They just could not find her anywhere. So police start focusing in on Larry Grisham. He was the one that was playing, like, hitting golf balls with her. So they look at him because he was the last one to see her besides her mom. And so why are they, besides that, like, why would they be looking at him? Here's why, okay? He's 45 years old. So that's a little bit weird. Like, why is a 45-year-old hanging out with an 8-year-old? I mean, they're not family. He's not an uncle. He's just a guy. So police are like, okay, this is almost too obvious. So they look into him, and he tells them that, yeah, I was hitting golf balls with her around 5:30. She left. I assumed that, you know, she was going in for the night because it was 5:30 at night. She's going to probably have dinner or something, and she never came back. And that's it. I mean, that's all there is to it. So they ask him to do a polygraph test, and he does it, and he fails it. And he also has like a long rap sheet, and it's like, I don't know, like theft and car, like speeding tickets, I don't know, like stuff like that. Not super wild or crazy, but still. So they're really like, this is the guy, 100%. This is the guy. So they do a search of his home. Not one time, not 2 times. They search it 9 times. So they obviously are like, you're the one. You're the guy. They question him over and over, only like 20 times. Literally 20 times. They really just thought that he was the one. And plus it's a little girl, so that they really want to make sure. So question him 20 times. He willingly gives up DNA. Eventually he was cleared. Okay, a lot of people do not pass a polygraph test. They're not held up in the court of law. They're a helpful tool, yes, but like I said, he was ruled out. It wasn't him. Police were stationed outside of the Clifton residence because, well, obviously this is like a 8-year-old little girl that's gone missing, but also they're worried because Jessica, she's only 11. And so they're like basically surveilling the house, and they're there all the time. There's like always at least one officer out there right outside of the home. So this is, I want to say 7 days past, okay, 7 days. And they're so desperate. I mean, imagine an 8-year-old being missing for 7 days. Not good. So the mom and dad are going public and just pleading, if anybody knows anything, please come forward. And they even put up a reward for any information for $50,000. So that's I mean, that's a huge amount of money. And they even offered to double it if anyone, I mean, they were desperate. They're willing to give up $100,000 for anything. They just wanted to know where's our girl. So they're in the public eye. They're all over the place. They go on to Good Morning America. Can I talk? Never. Anyways, Good Morning America. They're on there. They're pleading for her, safe return. And as everything is finishing up on Good Morning America, Maddie is found. Okay. So now we know that Maddie has been found. Let's switch gears a little bit here. We're going to switch gears to a different household. We're going to talk about the Phillips household. Okay, so Melissa Phillips, she is the mother of Josh Phillips, the 14-year-old, remember, that hangs out with 8-year-olds for some strange reason. Anyhow, she sends him off to school, and this is like 7:30, I want to say. And she has to go to work later on, but she's got some time to kill, and she has been bugging her son about cleaning his room, and it's like always a mess. I mean, he's 14, so shocker. But she's just been noticing like a stinky smell coming from his room. And he also has birds, like pet birds in there. And sometimes if he doesn't clean their cages, it can smell pretty bad. And it doesn't seem like he's really cleaning his room like she wants him to. So she's gonna take matters into her own hands. She gets a garbage bag and is gonna go and clean house. So she goes in, starts clearing away all the nasty teenage yucky stuff. God only knows what was in there. But she's cleaning away, cleaning, and the stink, it's just bad. Like, she never smelled his room smell that bad before. Can you tell where we're going with this? Not a laughing matter. I shouldn't smile even. So anyways, she's cleaning, and she notices a wet spot on the floor. And so her son has a waterbed, and waterbeds can be a little bit problematic. And she thought that it was leaking and that maybe like the carpet was getting slowly soaked with water and getting mildewy and moldy and disgusting. And so she's not super pumped about that. She's like preparing herself to have to deal with a real big problem. And thankfully so, because boy, is this a problem. She started feeling around with her hands around the perimeter of the bed and where the bed is framed up. And so with like water beds, if you haven't experienced a water bed, first of all, they're nasty, and I don't know why anyone would get one, but they used to be all the hype, But there is usually like a little bit of a space around the frame. So she's kind of feeling around to see if she can feel like wetness, and she does. She feels some moisture, and she notices some black electrical tape, which she had never seen there before, and it stuck out. So she was like, great, maybe he like busted it and decided to try to fix it himself so he wouldn't get in trouble type of thing. And that's when she noticed a sock. And she couldn't really see down that corner. So it stinks, like it's real bad. So she goes and gets a flashlight to try to like see what she can see. And so she comes back, pulls the bed back a little bit, and is flashing her flashlight in there to see. And when her eyes focus in, she's kind of in disbelief, and she's got a lot of thoughts running through her head, and she's really just overwhelmed and has to get out of the room. And she immediately calls her husband, Josh's dad, but he doesn't answer. And she's desperate on the phone. She's like, it's an emergency. You need to call me now. Like, come home. It's an emergency. So she's tripping. Like, this is not good. So she knows that there's those police officers that are surveilling the Clifton house. So she runs out there, and the first police officer she sees, she just comes to him. She's sobbing, she's crying, she's freaking out, and he can't quite understand what's the problem, what's going on here. This is Officer Donald F. Tutton. So she was crying so much, and he couldn't really understand what was going on, but she said, you just need to come see. And so he was like, okay, this could be anything. So he went ahead and called for backup. He called 2 detectives to join in entering the home. And so they entered the home, and she led them to the bedroom and just kind of like pointed like in there. And Officer Solis, sorry, said that as soon as the door opened, that the smell of death came out of the room, and the detectives immediately knew what that smell was. When they looked inside, they looked at the bed, and they could see 2 little tiny feet sticking out, wearing 2 little white socks. So remember that these people are neighbors. They're the Clifton's neighbors. So I can assure you that they saw police officers, descending onto their neighbor's home. And what else could that mean? So as they saw the officers approaching their home, they knew what it was about. And so the officers go to the Clifton house to tell them that they had found Maddie across the street at the neighbor's house. And either way, it's devastating for any parents to lose a child, but to know for all that whole week that she was just right there. Just right over there. That's a lot. So the police go to the school because Josh is at school, learning some things. And they pull him out of school, and he's at first maybe not so forthcoming, but his dad encouraged him to confess, to tell the truth, tell them everything, tell them what happened. So he went ahead and confessed. So Josh said that Maddie had come to his house and was bothering him, that she wanted to play, and that he was saying, no, I can't play. My parents don't let anybody over if they're not home, which actually, that seems legit, And so she left. He went onto his computer. This was at around the 5:30 marker. And then he decided to go outside and do one of his outdoor chores, which was, I guess, to rake the leaves or something. And she showed up. So she's wanting to play. And he said, okay. So they're going to go ahead and play some baseball. So they're taking turns throwing the ball to each other and hitting the ball. And he really wanted to hit the ball really hard at one point. So he swung real hard and accidentally hit her in the head with the bat. And blood was gushing. She was bleeding a lot, and she was screaming. And so he cleaned off the ball because, we don't want any blood on the ball. And then he proceeded to drag her into his home. So she's screaming, she's crying, she's bleeding from her head. She's an 8-year-old little child. She's scared, and he's dragging her into his home. So he drags her up to his room. Like, I'm just imagining his house is a 2-story and his bedroom is up on the 2nd level. It's all in my head, but I haven't actually seen what the house looks like. So maybe he didn't have to go upstairs. I don't know. But that's how I imagine it. So he's dragging her into his bedroom. As he dragged her into his bedroom, she's screaming. So he puts his hand over her mouth. And she's screaming even more because, she just got hit over the head with a baseball bat. She's bleeding from her head, and instead of getting help, he's putting his hand over her mouth. So, but he got scared. Poor Josh. He was so scared. He was so scared that he went ahead and hit her over the head with the bat again. And let me just tell you that the head bleeds a lot, okay? She's still crying. She's like really freaking out at this point. She's screaming, she's crying, and she was probably so scared. So he hit her again. He said that he hit her as hard as he could. And so that's 2 hits. Okay, he decides to hit her again. So 3 heavy blows to the head with a baseball bat. I think it's wooden. Could have been aluminum. Doesn't matter. Guess what? She's still moaning. She's moaning and crying, and he doesn't like that, I guess. So he goes ahead and grabs his knife, and he stabbed her twice in the neck. Then he shoved her into that corner area of the waterbed. Shoved her right in there. I'm sure that this must be a super bloody scene. I wonder how he cleaned that all up. Anyways, so shoves her into the bed, and so she's still alive and she's still crying. He leaves the room at a certain point, and then he returns because I guess when he was walking past the room, he could hear her moaning. And she was trying to claw her way out of that spot in the bed. She's still alive. So he takes her out. And he stabs her in the chest 9 times. I also read that it was 12 times, but it seems like I read 9 times in more sources than the 12 times. At the end of the day, 9 times or 12 times, it's a lot of times to be sitting on top of a child, stabbing them in the chest. You guys, I'm so sorry, because I know that this is a lot, but like, doesn't Maddie deserve this? Doesn't Maddie deserve for people to know exactly what happened to her? I think yes. Weird thing is that, so remember she had her socks on? The little white socks sticking out? Her pants and her underwear were not on her. So he was asked about this, and he said they just fell off. They just like fell off during the ordeal. So I guess I just like want to know, how did her socks not just fall off? Also, her underwear and her pants were like below her. So they were stuffed into the bed before she was. Also, there was no stab holes in her shirt. Her shirt was pulled up. To me, that screams sexual motivation. That's what that says to me. But he says no. He says, no, I don't know. I don't know what happened there. They said, why did you do it? And he said, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I need help. You think? So I just want you to know that after her autopsy, there was no signs of rape. So she wasn't raped. That does not rule out the motivation there, okay? He's only 14 years old, so I can almost guarantee that this is his first murder. And it was probably super messy and scary. I mean, I don't know if he was scared, but I think it was probably a lot. So maybe he couldn't perform. That's just a thought of mine, but I fully feel like it was sexually motivated. And here's why. Josh had a dark side. He had something in him that he was hiding from everybody. He seemed to be into violence and into younger people. He seemed to have a real obsession with Jessica. So do you remember who Jessica is? She's the older sister of Maddie. So she's 11 years old. I don't know how long that they've all been neighbors, but it's kind of seemed like it was quite some time. And there was a little bit of history there. And so, you know, I said earlier that Maddie liked to play with him. Well, her parents were not so keen on that. Maddie's mom, Sheila, had come home, and this is before, like about a month before this terrible tragedy happened. She came home and found Josh in the home. Now, I don't know if somebody let him in, but what I could find was that nobody was there. He let himself in. He seemed to be comfortable inside of their home, and he was inside of Jessica's room, going through her things. He took a picture of her. Not like he took a picture of her, but he stole a picture out of a picture frame of her, and it was a picture of her in a leotard doing gymnastics. Because remember, she's only 11 years old. And this could have been an older picture too, I'm not quite sure, but she's a little girl. And he stole this picture of her. I think that he stole some of her chonies too, but I'm not, like, I don't 100% know. But there were chonies underwear found in his bedroom, like later on when they searched it and everything. So the dude's got some problems. Now, people didn't notice this that much because he was likable, he was a good kid, he had friends, he was like in Cub Scouts when he was younger, and got along with people. It didn't seem weird. His mom said that he was like a super happy baby when he was little, and curious, and a lovely toddler, and all those things. And he didn't show, like, he loved animals. He wasn't hurting animals. He wasn't doing things like that are like normal red flags. But breaking into someone's house and standing in their little girl's bedroom, that's a little bit of a red flag. He also, when he was like hanging out with the girls, because he would hang out with the girls before all the shit hit the fan, he, I guess, was saying like sexual stuff to them. And I believe that their grandma was there when this happened, and the grandma was like, "Stay the hell away from my girls. You don't play with them. You're too old. You don't need to be here. Bye-bye. Leave. Be gone." And later on, they found like holes drilled into Jessica's walls with like posters hung over them. And there's like a crawl space. I don't know a lot of information about it, unfortunately, but that happened, and they think that it was him, and I do too, like fully. That picture that he stole of Jessica, they found it in his bed, like taped to his headboard. Obviously, it was probably hidden because his dad would have beat his ass. But yeah, he hid that, and that was there. So that little girl was stuffed in there, laying next to her, the picture of her sister. And mind you, she was stuffed into his bed. So he was sleeping on top of her for a week. And he was like spraying Febreze and stuff, and had like candles and did all kinds of things. I don't know what he thought he was gonna do. Like just let her stay there forever? I don't know. But it was obvious that he had a major like infatuation with Jessica, the sister, and he was really interested in being on, like he wanted to be on the computer all the time. Again, that's usually really normal for a 14-year-old, but because of all this stuff, they searched his history, and through searching, they found really, really violent pornography. And they also found, like, within times that it would have only been him using the computer. So it wasn't likely to be his father. Like, it was him. He was the one that was into this. And child pornography. Violent. So now you can see why I fully believe that this was sexually motivated. He had a darkness in him. And I mean, he was only 14 years old when he did this. So and it was his neighbor. I mean, there's just so much that's crazy about this. That's just horrible about this. Do I believe his confession? Well, during the trial, you know, there is professionals who looked over the case and spoke on the case, and it pretty much matched up to what he was saying. However, he said that he kept stabbing her and hitting her because she was moaning and crying. It was proven that a lot of the injuries happened after she was already dead. So what I think, after listening to everything, reading everything, what I think happened is that he went back and took her out and just wanted to destroy her. And that's, like, this is me just speculating, okay? But what I think is that he wanted to do what he wanted to do, which was sexually assault her. He couldn't perform for who knows why. Don't know, don't care. But he couldn't do what he wanted to do. And he tried. And he was probably angry at her. So he took her back out and took out that anger on her because she was already dead. So, I mean, that's what I think. But aside from that, and I also don't think that she came over to his house on her own. I think that he lured her over. Because remember, she was like gonna go get golf balls and then go and hang out with her friend Lair. His name is Larry. I call him Lair. And then remember, he never saw her again. Like, she never came back to hit golf balls, and he just thought, oh, she went in for dinner. I think that probably what happened was, remember, speculation. This is no facts to this. But what I think is that she was going to hang out with Lair, and dumbass Josh was out in his yard and saw her and was like, hey, Maddie, come here. And I can guarantee you they were not playing baseball. I think that he got her into the yard and she was like, well, what's going on? You know, she's 8 years old. Hey, you want to play? Okay. She comes into the yard and he whacked her. He just took his chance. Mom and Dad weren't going to be home for a while. It was an opportunity and he took it. I think everything else loosely lines up because of the autopsy, but he wasn't going to admit fully. And then he's going to say things like, I don't know, I need help. Later on, he said, I did it because I was afraid of my dad. I did it because I was scared that my dad would come home and see that she was over, so I had to kill her. Like, what a freaking cop-out. I just realized that I think the reason why I was calling the friend Larry Lair, it just hit me. I was like, why would I... Like, what is that from? That's from something. It's from Curb Your Enthusiasm. That's what his friend's wife calls him, Lair. Hey, Lair. You know what I'm talking about? You know what I'm saying? Anyways. Okay, so they tried Josh as an adult, which, remember, we're in Florida. And I feel like things can go either way in Florida. You know what I'm saying. Casey Anthony, hello. But so his mom was like, no, that's not right. He's 14 and that's not right that he should be, you know, held at the same regard as an adult when he's only 14. And so the judge was like, too bad. And actually he directly said to Josh that what you did was very adult. And if I could give you a harsher sentence, I would. Something along the lines of, when you die and meet your maker, trust me, you're gonna get a much harsher sentence than I could ever give you, and I'm glad. And so it's rare that like I hate judges. I really have a respect for judges, good judges, you know, that's a really big responsibility. But I like extra love when judges get really, really harsh with these people, like when they roast them, when they tell them like, you're a piece of crap, and yeah, rot in there. So he was tried as an adult, and so he was convicted. He pled not guilty, and I'm sure that there's some reasoning behind that. I don't know why he did. I don't know why he pled guilty, but didn't do much for him because he got life in prison without the possibility of parole. So holla. But later on, there's always like changes in laws and stuff like that. And later on, Florida was like, probably not cool to, you know, treat a 14-year-old as an adult. So since that happened, the possibility of parole became a thing, because before, his sentence did not give him a possibility for parole. And so later on he was eligible, like it changed, okay? So now he can be up for parole in the year 2023. Oh my gosh, you guys, that's only in 2 years. I just realized that. Holy crap. So Maddie's mommy really has been fighting to keep him in, and I get it. I mean, there's obvious like signs that this is something that would continue to go on. And also, just like being the mother of Maddie, like, you would never want this guy to get out. And in 2017, there was something happened. Anyways, he was able to speak directly to her parents. And so I watched and listened to that. And I have an open mind. When I do my research, I always have an open mind. You know, I try. But when I listened to his, whatever you want to call that, it grossed me out. He never once said Maddie's name. That bothered me. He never once said her name. He didn't even really refer to her at all. It was like, she doesn't exist anymore. And he's going on and on about how much he's suffered and how hard it's been for him in prison. And he understands their pain, and he prays every day for peace for them. And he's been using his time to educate himself, and he thanks God every day. What did he say? When I'm shackled and I'm looking up into the sky, I just thank God for every day. And the reason why I'm saying this mockingly, if you don't get it already, is because he's full of crap. And he made it all about him. Like he said me, he said I, mine. It was all about him, that whole thing. And so I hope he doesn't get out. I hope that when 2023 comes in 2 years, what a freaking trip, I hope that it's a big, fat no. Because heaven forbid any more 8-year-old babies get taken out by some monster like that. And that, my friends, is the case of Maddie Clifton, not the case of Josh Phillips. Anyways, rough case, I know. I've been hanging on to this one for a little bit and kind of going back and forth, but I couldn't stop thinking about Maddie. I've seen a lot of pictures of her and her beautiful face. She had really big brown eyes. And I know that there's other people telling her story, and what's one more? You know, let's put some love out there for her fam bam. You know what I'm saying? Because the loss of a child is, I can only imagine how tough that would be to lose your 8-year-old baby. But this is the hair. What do you think of the hair, though? She's a little crazy. This is the look. I know that I went with like a super basic look for all those like fun colors that I had, but I'm me. You know, I'm a creature of habit. Anyways, I know it's been a minute, and love you all. See you in the next one. Bye.